In this lesson, I am going to teach you the grammar that you need to know in order to get a great score on picture description questions on the DET. This essential grammar consists of just two verb tenses. They are the present simple and the present continuous. You may recognize these verb tenses from your English classes, and even if you don't, you probably are already familiar with using them because they are so essential in English. Let's look now at how you conjugate verbs in the present simple. We will use the very common verb to be. So to be in the present simple looks like this. I am. You are. He or she is. We are. You are. And they are. So like I said, you probably already are familiar with to be in the present simple, as well as many other verbs in the present simple, because it's such an essential verb tense in English. It's especially important that you know how to conjugate to be in the present simple correctly, because you will actually need it for the present continuous, which we are going to look at later. In order to negate verbs in the present simple, all you do is add not at the end. So, I am not. You are not. He or she is not. We are not. You are not. They are not. Very simple. Now, why do we need the present simple for picture description? Simply put, the present simple can be used for facts or generalizations. That's why it's useful for picture description. So, if I say something like, it is cold, that is stating a fact about the world. The weather outside, the air, it is cold. That's a fact. Horses are strong, right? That's another fact or another generalization. You're making a general statement that you are saying in general, horses are strong. The Duolingo English Test is hard. This is another fact or another generalization. He is happy. This is stating another fact, or at least what you believe to be a fact. Okay, so let's look now at an example of how you use the present simple for picture description. To describe this image here are all the things that I could say, and all of them are in the present simple. Cars are parked. Leaves are on the ground. It is daytime. The street is dirty. The trees are tall. The apartments have terraces. So by describing the things that are facts in the image, the things that just are there, we use the present simple. So the rule to remember when to use the present simple is this. If you are not describing action, you should very likely use the present simple. So if that isn't 100% clear at the moment, don't worry, it's going to be completely clear after we talk about the present continuous tense. So you will know exactly when you should use the present simple here in a few minutes. If you are finding this lesson helpful, I would really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. That way other students like you around the world getting ready for the DET can find this lesson as well. If you want to get even more in-depth lessons like this that cover every aspect of the DET, then you should check out our courses inside the Arno platform. We also have exercises and one-on-one tutoring and personalized feedback. So basically a ton of stuff that will help you get the score that you need on the DET. Even if you are unable to pay for one of these premium courses, in Arno with a free account, we still give you unlimited practice questions for every question type for free. So if you're getting ready for the DET, there is something in Arno for you, regardless of your ability to pay. So to create your account and check out our different features, you can click the link in the description or just head over to goarno.io. Okay, let's get back to this lesson on the grammar that you need for picture description questions. The present continuous tense is formed or conjugated in the following way. You take the present simple of to be, which we just looked at, and you add something called the present participle. So let's conjugate to laugh in the present continuous. I am laughing. Okay, so I am, that's the present simple, plus the present participle, laughing. Generally speaking, present participles are the ing form of a verb. So in this case, laughing. You are laughing. He or she is laughing. We are laughing. You are laughing. They are laughing. To negate the present continuous, you put not between the present simple to be and your present participle. So not goes in between the two verbs that you have for the present continuous tense. So I am not laughing. You are not laughing. He or she is not laughing. We are not laughing. You are not laughing. They are not laughing. So not, again, it always goes right in between. You use the present continuous tense in English primarily to describe events happening right now. And that's why it's useful for picture description. So some examples. Right now, we are learning the present continuous verb tense in English. That's what's happening in this moment. Right now, I am talking. Right now, you are listening. We are not eating lunch. So in this moment, we are not eating lunch. We are not walking in a park. So again, that's why you are going to need the present continuous tense for picture description. Let me show you some examples of exactly what I mean. In this image, we can see that there is a lot of action. 3 men are playing basketball. They are jumping to get the ball. The one man is intensely grabbing the ball. So when you want to add an adverb to modify the verb, you put the adverb in between the present simple of to be and your present participle. In other words, the adverb goes in the same location as not. Important to remember that. The other man is standing on the ground. So you can see we needed the present continuous tense to really properly describe this photo because this photo contains so much action. Okay, so present continuous tense describes action. Let's look at another example. The train is traveling on the tracks. The train is going through the mountains. The train is leaning to one side. So the point with this example is that even things that aren't people, in this case a train, can still be performing some action, and therefore we need the present continuous tense to properly describe that aspect of an image. So to recap, you use the present continuous tense to describe things in action, people, objects, whatever. And you use the present simple tense to describe things not in action. Okay, so that's why you need both. to properly describe an image. Let's look at some examples of how we can describe different aspects of an image using these two verb tenses. So, for this image, when we use the present simple, here are the things that we can describe. They are the things that are not in action. So, in the background, there are houses. The houses aren't doing anything, they're just there. So the present simple is appropriate. There is a green field. The men are muddy. The sky is gray. So again, all of those things are not in action, they just are. We're just stating a fact or generalization that is true about the image. For the present continuous tense, we can describe action, which in this photo would be the following. The men are playing rugby. One team is wearing green uniforms and the other team is wearing black uniforms. So to wear may be a little confusing to use in the present continuous tense, but in English, this is very natural. We consider wearing something to be an action, and therefore it works well in the present continuous tense. The teams are fiercely pushing against one another in a ruck. So, again, note the placement of the adverb between are and pushing. So the teams are fiercely pushing against one another in a ruck. The referee is standing close by. Okay, now we have to get into the complicated parts of the present continuous verb tense. This is because in English, although we have rules, there are many exceptions and odd things that make it difficult. This, unfortunately, is one of those situations. So I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. I don't think it's too difficult to understand. It requires a little bit of memorization, but it should make perfect sense. This concept is continuous versus non-continuous verbs. So in English, we have verbs that cannot be used in continuous tenses. These verbs are called non-continuous verbs. So essentially what's going on here is that there are verbs that you would like to use with a continuous tense, like the present continuous tense, but you're not allowed because they're non-continuous verbs. So instead you have to use them in the present simple. In general, non-continuous verbs are verbs that you cannot see being performed. So that's a little bit of a trick to help you remember what are continuous and non-continuous verbs. However, I think it's better to just memorize the most common non-continuous verbs and get in the habit of using them in the present simple instead. So here's the full list of the most common non-continuous verbs. The first category are abstract verbs. They are things like to be, to want, to cost, to seem, to need, to care, to contain, to owe, to exist. The second category are possession verbs. To possess, to own, to belong. And the final category are emotion verbs, like, to love, to hate, to dislike, to fear, to envy, and to mind. So again, these are non-continuous verbs, meaning they can't be used in continuous verb tenses. But even within this list, there are some verbs that are far more common than other verbs, like to be, to want, or to need, which are far more common than verbs like to fear, to envy, or to mind. So I'm now going to show you the most common mistakes that non-native English speakers make with non-continuous verbs. And if you can learn from those mistakes, you have a very high chance of correcting some mistakes that you may be making in your own writing and speaking in English. So the most common mistake that I see is people say something like this: she is wanting ice cream right now. That's incorrect, because to want is a non-continuous verb, which means it needs to be used in the present simple tense. What you need to say is she wants ice cream right now. Also very common is need. They are needing water. This is incorrect. You need to say they need water. This is correct because it's the present simple, and to need is a non-continuous verb. The third verb where many non-native English speakers make mistakes with the present continuous is to have. So many people say or write things like, he is having pain right now. That's incorrect. They need to say instead, he has pain right now, which uses the present simple. So if you can remember for to want, to need, and to have, to avoid the present continuous tense and instead use the present simple, then you can avoid these very common mistakes that lose people points on the test. Let's do a few more examples so that you can see how to use all that we've learned in this lesson to get a great score on picture description questions. Using the present simple, we could describe the following. The barber has tattoos. You may be tempted to say, the barber is having tattoos, but that would be incorrect. To have is a non-continuous verb, therefore it necessitates the present simple. The barber has tattoos. The tattoos are red. The clippers are white. The clippers are not battery powered. They have a cord that plugs into the wall. Using the present continuous, we could describe the following. The barber is carefully trimming his client's hair. The barber is gently holding his client's ear. Note there the placement of the adverbs carefully and gently. Remember, they go between the present simple conjugation of to be and the present participle. The client is sitting still. The client is wearing a black apron. Let's now use the present simple and the present continuous together in a more natural manner so that you can have an even better idea of how to apply these concepts when describing images on the test. There is a white boat. It seems a little old. You may be tempted to say it is seeming a little old, but that would be incorrect. To seem is a non-continuous verb, so you need the present simple. There is a sailor who is tying the boat to the pier. So it's very natural to use the present simple and the present continuous in the same sentence to describe different yet related aspects. The rope is yellow and blue, and he is kneeling down in order to tie a knot. He is wearing a blue waterproof uniform. A river is behind him. If you want to keep preparing for picture descriptions on the DET, then you should check out our very popular video with a simple 3-step template for write about the photo questions, which you can find here. I will see you over in that video.